coming up in today's edition of Wake Up Sterling, we'll be discussing the lifting of the ban on institutions and individuals which were banned by the Commission of Inquiry. Some individuals and institutions were banned from doing business or conducting business with the government following investigations or following the conclusion of the Commissions of Inquiry. But anyway, you'll get to find out more about that in today's edition of the program.
Right. Our quote for today says, "You cannot be the people's commissioner and not move to the rhythms of the people." And that quote is from Francis Ben Kaifala, Commissioner Anti-Corruption Commission of Sierra Leone. And with that, we have to jump straight into our very first issue this morning. And that takes us to the issue of, but I'm pretty sure we'll first off have to inform our viewers, as always, they can be part of the conversation. Share your thoughts with us, send them to the Africa Young Voices Media Empire Facebook page. We'll find time to go through some of them. Now, in our first segment this morning, the National Public Procurement Authority issued a public notice in relation to businesses that were named in the white paper of the Commissions of Inquiry, in which in effect has put a temporary suspension on such businesses from working or operating with government pending the final outcome of their various positions as otherwise determined by the Office of Attorney General and Minister of Justice. However, NPPA through the AG's office has lifted the temporary suspension of those businesses and companies. So this morning, we're here to discuss the issue and update on the Commissions of Inquiry. And with us in the studio, we have Solomon Sundu. Solomon, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Samuel. Good morning.
All right, we're also expecting the Chief Executive Officer of the National Public Procurement Authority, Ibrahim Brema Swari, to join us this morning. Solomon Sundu is the Executive Director for Bianchi Foundation. Solomon, I'm pretty sure you've been following the issue of the COI, and there is a special consultant in the Office of the Attorney General who was hired to look into all of the issues. Cases were appealed by persons of interest, businesses were suspended, government was asked not to deal with those businesses. We saw a press statement from the consultant from the Office of the Attorney General saying they would now use the Sierra Leone police to evict persons of interest who are still residing in confiscated properties by the COI and the lifting of the ban. Now, take us through, first, since the conclusion of the COI, cases being appealed to where we are now implementing all of some of the recommendations, because some appeal cases were won by persons of interest.
Thank you very much, Samuel, once more. Let me just take the public through the Commissions of Inquiry. Under the laws of Sierra Leone, Section 147 gives the President the mandate or the powers to set up Commissions of Inquiry of any issues or matters, that may be interested, among us, the public.
Right.
Like, for example, it could be political tension in the country, corruption cases. It could be, misunderstanding between ministries, departments, and agencies, say violence, or within the country. So we see how this administration, when they came in, they set up Commissions of Inquiry based on what the auditors generals were giving, misappropriation of public funds, misuse of power, and the likes. After the setting of the Commissions of Inquiry, we saw the outcomes. Recommendations were made by the Commissions of Inquiry, but again, sent to the President, and white paper comes out with recommendations. With these recommendations, the POI, that is to say the persons of interest, appeal against some of these recommendations. They went to the appeal court, and we now have 110 appeals as we speak.
Right.
Among these 110 appeals, we have 40 or more than 40 cases we are looking into. And among these cases, we have 6 uphold. That is to say, people won against the appeal, against the government. and then 5 cases were dismissed because they were no standard for them to appeal. And we also have 11 awaiting for judgment as we speak.
Right.
Then among these 6 who won against government or the appeal, we still have 4 in the Supreme Court waiting for judgment as well. But let me run through those who won the cases. We have here Diana Konomani won against the state. We have Musa Terawali, Baba Fortune, Kalfala Kagbo. We have Dennis Vandi. Smart Company. They won against the government. But again, the government appeal against some of these cases as we speak. Diana Konomani, the government, appeal against. Then we have again Smart, the government's appeal against some of these cases. Then you see again where in some of these people who lost or won among this list I've named, they also appeal against governments. So you see, that's what we want. But again, as you spoke of those who bans were placed on, it was not the commissions of inquiry, but because some of these business houses, they have lineage with, some of these.
These were businesses that were dealing with government officials,
right? The Attorney General's office placed ban on those businesses. But when they look at, the long duration, 110 cases in court, what they did, because it was administrative business, the Attorney General's office, they have consultants, they went and reviewed some of these documents. Those who write to the Attorney General's, they lifted the ban, and they are right to do so, because you cannot hold on somebody's business and that person, are waiting for judgments. Look, the government has won cases and is now appealing. Then people who won against, so how can we wait and see those businesses collapsing? So that is why the Attorney General.
Can I quickly take you back?
Yes.
Just a minute to just put context to the conversation. Going back to the commissions of inquiry, the conclusions, basically they carried the power of the High Court, the COIs. The decisions that were made, they carried the power of the High Court, and so they were binding. Persons of interest appealed, and some won. Now, remember when the commissions were set up, they were tagged as political witch hunt tools against opposition politicians and a way of killing opposition politicians.
Exactly.
And we've seen where some of those persons of interest who were found wanting by the commissions of inquiry, they've appealed. Some of them have won against the state. But if you look at those who've won against the state, again, you have some critics who are now saying these are people who have close allies or who are buddies to the current system. They were seen as persons of interest, they were seen as opposition politicians, but they have very good, or they are in bed with the current system. The likes of Musa Tarali, for example, is one of those who is said to be, a pal of the current regime. Diana Konomani was again one of those who is seen as, playing mild and playing sweet politics and all of that. So does that go to show that the system that was set up leading to the appeal cases, the system was one that was looking at justice and accountability?
For me, if you ask my opinion, just like what you are doing, I would say this is what some of us we are yearning for.
Right.
Where, the language used, witch hunting against opposition, that is what we are campaigning against, that we don't want that. Even the appeal, people should be allowed to appeal against most of the decision taken, whether it was from the white paper or not. And we saw again the court. When you go to the court, Samuel, I would categorically say, for me, I am seeing justice. Because, like for example, Diana, everybody knows that Diana, she's one of the most strong women in the APC. And she's not only a strong woman, she's carrying a big title in the Eastern region.
Right.
Chairperson for the entire Eastern region. So for me, yes, what would you say about Musa Terawali? Musa Terawali was with the then administration under Berewa. He served under Ernest Bai Koroma as minister.
Right.
And people were saying these were the ones sabotaging the Berewa administration or the Pakaba administration.
Right.
But he works for Ernest Bai Koroma. He was minister appointed in the East. You saw the positions.
Right.
What will you say about...
and later gave his support in the presidential race to the SLPP.
So, for me, I am saying, we are calling on the judiciary.
Yeah.
That is what we want. Divulge yourself from politicking. Even though some will say, who appointed the Chief Justice? But we are saying the independence should be. And when you go to that court, for me, I've seen where the judges, like for example, I will give you a scenario of Ngivao. He was, for the other side, the opposition,
right,
about securing properties. When I look at the judges, right, the way Honorable, he's watching and he knows exactly what they tell him in that court. They said you should not be the one to stand for some of these people.
Who told him that?
Justice Commander was there. Just the other...
so a lawyer was told not to practice his trade.
Exactly. Not to practice some of these bad things.
Well, his trade.
The merit. So for me, I am saying, let us carry on with some of these things. And the civil society is there to really bring out. Civil society, the media, journalists, that is our role. When people ask of nation building, we all should come together, bring out some of this gray area. And it's working. For me, it will take time, as we are saying. But for me, these cases, and there are some high-profile cases which will come up soon because the court is now in recess. We talk of the former president, and it's by Koroma case will come up. We talk of Dr. Samura Kamara case will come up. We talk of Paulo Conte. These are the high-profile cases that will soon come up after the recess. Now, when we talk again about confiscation of properties, we have up to 4 names here.
Please go through them.
Service, they have served them notice, and this notice have been gazetted, just like what you mentioned, these properties, like Momo Contest properties, now is under the state.
Right.
Leona Balogun Koroma,
former Minister of Transport.
Exactly. Mr. Mikael Uba, Doctor.
The late man,
former
Minister of Education.
We have Abdullah Ignozi Koroma,
the former Deputy Minister of Mines and Minerals Resources.
Then we have this Tofik. You understand?
Yeah.
So these were the properties. Now the state, some of these, as you said, these properties, the keys, as we speak, some of these keys have not yet been handed over to the Attorney General, but they are still using the law.
So now they're saying they now have to use the police to get them out of those houses because those properties now belong to the state.
And that's what they are saying. And even the recovery, that is what they are saying. They will now use the law,
right,
to possess some of this property. Even the recovery. Now we have we saw the financial intelligence units taking the role of the Attorney General, which is not supposed to be like that. They don't have the mandate. The law does not warrant them to go against those people. When you talk about the FIU, they are there to deal with money laundering or whatever, But in this case, the Attorney General and the principal advisor, right? Yesterday, for the whole of the day, we have meeting. When I go to them, sitting down, taking notes of some of these things, I ask them, why can't you use your own office, you understand, to recover some of this money? They said, this was the mistake. Now we are going to do that, to write to the bank governor, to lift some of this, and to give us the figures, you understand? Because if you have lifted ban on people's business, you have also the right to lift ban on their accounts. So that is currently happening, and I'm sure.
But, you know, as you mentioned, some of these businesses and individuals have not actually gone through the trial to be, you know, exonerated. And so do you think the government, or through the Office of the Attorney General, of course, is making a mistake by letting these people, who some of them are still under investigation, continue to conduct business with the government?
Yeah. Well, what we should know, the ban placed on those businesses, it's not from the COI, the Commissions of Inquiry, but the Attorney General's office deemed it fit at that time because they have some linkages. You understand? If they confiscated some of these persons of interest, if they are found wanting, how will they be able to recover some of this money? That was where the Attorney General came in and placed this ban. But they have now looked into certain, as I said, we have 110 cases in court. Will you want to see them suffering? And these are administrative business. The Attorney General again have the right to review them, and they have done that. So for me, like... But
the ban wasn't 100% holistic, as to say not for these companies or individuals not to operate their businesses at all in Sierra Leone. It was just a ban for them not to conduct business with the government.
That is what we are saying. And some of these companies, you understand, their businesses, you understand, is only depend on governments. That is what we are saying. So you cannot hold on to their businesses. Some of these businesses, governments are to pay them huge money. They have some, you know, projects that have not yet been completed. So what will you want to see? So it is discretional from the Attorney General's office.
So if the accusation was that you own a business and I run the state and I've been involved in some dubious activities with your company, and Antonia takes over, she feels, I mean, there should be some form of investigation to ascertain whether or not what I'm being accused of, I'm guilty. Is it not prudent enough to still hold on to that decision until at the end of the day, the appeals court comes out with a decision to either convict or exonerate me or you, so that, and then you can continue doing business with Antonia? Is that not just prudent enough to just save the state? What if at the end of the day these businesses are found wanting or are convicted by the appeals court as already done by the commissions of inquiry?
Again, I will say to you, Samuel, this decision taken, right, is administrative decision,
right,
from the Attorney General's office,
which has some legal implications.
And that is why, you understand, some of these business-owned houses, they wrote and they have reviewed their documents. They knew that, you know, some of these businesses have no linkages, with investigation, as you said. Investigation have been made or done on them. Now, the Attorney General have the right to review, and he has done it. And they are Sierra Leoneans. If they have not found one thing, what will you want? For them to be punished? You understand? So for me, what the Attorney General did, I think that was the right thing. And for the NPPA, you understand, in law, they did the right thing to, you know, lift up bans on those businesses.
Well, let's welcome into the studio Francis Bayer, the Director of Legal and Corporate Affairs for the National Public Procurement Authority. Good morning to you.
Good morning, AYV.
Right. You know, this conversation basically is based off of the notice from NPPA stating that you would resume doing business, or rather the ban has been lifted on certain individuals and companies who were persons of interest in the COI, you know, white paper. Right. You know, from your point of view, with the Attorney General's decision to lift the ban on these companies and individuals, does it make sense to you?
Yes, it makes sense, because the Office of the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, is the principal legal advisor to the government of Sierra Leone. And so it has a principal responsibility to implement the recommendations of a commission of inquiry. You will recall that those persons of interest whose name appear on the white paper have issues to settle with the government of Sierra Leone. in various ways. And they have the option to engage the Office of the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, to clear their name, all the issues that were named against them, or appeal against the decision of the Commission of Inquiry. The decision of the Commission of Inquiry is equated to the decision of a High Court. That is why when there is an adverse finding against you in respect of the Commission of Inquiry, you need to appeal to the Court of Appeal to overturn that decision, or you engage the Office of the Attorney General, Minister of Justice. That is why the Office of the Attorney General, Minister of Justice clear those businesses that we suspended temporarily, because we have a caveat in the public notice that we released last year. Mind you, we are the principal advisor to government on all procurement-related issues pursuant to the provisions of the Public Procurement Act 2016. And so when we liaise with the Office of the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, they thought it fit that once they clear any issue with those whose names have appeared on the Commission of Inquiry, as far as procurement is concerned, they should liaise with us. And that is why we issue out this latest public notice lifting the suspension on those 4 businesses that are clear through the Ministry of Justice.
Right. Now, in your press statement, it states that these individuals and companies are now permitted to do business with the government.
Right.
And some of them, perhaps most all of them, are directly linked to doing business with the NPPA. Now, are you at all cautious, given that these persons were named in the COI and are persons of interest and were or are being investigated?
Well, the Commissions of Inquiry is an investigation and inquiry into activities of conduct. Mind you, these businesses, their names appear in the Commission of Inquiry, the White Paper report, for various reasons. Some were awarded contract on fictitious document by procuring entity. Some has conflict of interest in the award of the business. Some secure loan from the Sierra Leone Commercial Bank to execute a procurement activity, and they never repaid those loans. Now, some contracts were awarded to them, they never executed those contracts. So that is why in the report, the recommendation was made that the contract sum that was awarded to these businesses should be refunded to the government. Because if due process was not followed and the contract was awarded to you, then you have disadvantaged those who are doing genuine businesses. So those are the several issues that we are surrounding those whose names appear on the Commission of Inquiry. And so an investigation was done. They have the opportunity at that time for the 3 commissions of inquiry to go and clear their name. They may have gone there, but the commissioners were not satisfied that the reasons they gave were justifiable. That is why their name appear on the white paper.
Let me take you back. There were concerns. I mean, when the commissions were being set up, there were concerns about the legality of the commissions, especially when lawyers were advancing arguments that there was the absence of the rules of court committee. And that goes back to saying the commissions of inquiry, they had the power of the High Court. So they should use, I mean, the rules of court committee in the High Courts. So when we discuss around the decision of the commissions of inquiry, are they just mere recommendations left with the government whether or not they should implement, or are they binding until after the appeal cases are being won? I'm just a little confused.
No, they are binding.
Right.
That is why before a commission of inquiry is set up, I don't really want to go into the nitty-gritty of the legality of that. That
Right.
has been discussed in several fora. And I am not the spokesman for the Office of the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, but I believe as a lawyer that the Commission of Inquiry has legal binding, and it was legally constituted by statutory instrument.
Why I asked, forgive me, why I asked is because we're saying I mean, those persons of interest who were found wanting by the commissions of inquiry, yes. The decision of the commissions of inquiry are recommendations. Are they just mere recommendations?
They are recommendations, and those recommendations should be implemented by the Office of the Attorney General, Minister of Justice. Mm-hmm. That is why those decisions, as stated earlier, are equated to the decision of the High Court. That is why if you are dissatisfied with the adverse finding against you from the Commission of Inquiry, your option is the Court of Appeal, not the High Court. Because the Court of Appeal is where you lay your appeal if you are dissatisfied with a certain decision.
It's a superior court to that of the High Court.
It's a superior court.
So let's go back to Antonia's question, whether or not the decision to lift the ban makes sense at all.
And
now, yes.
If you look at the statement, it's saying they are permitted to do business and to either resume their previous businesses with the government. So isn't that worrying?
That's the question. Isn't that worrying when these guys still have a case to answer to the state?
Because you just mentioned that some of these individuals or businesses had issues with conflict of interest. There were several reasons.
Several issues, yes.
Yes, for which they were named in the COI white paper. So doesn't this raise a red flag? Doesn't this alarm you?
Especially when the appeals court has not cleared them off. Go ahead.
No, there are options, right?
Which are?
You either engage the Office of the Attorney General by way of settlement, because there are some who will approach the Office of the Attorney General, Mr. Justice, and pay the contract sum that has settled the case. It is
which in essence, they were guilty of the crime accused.
Sure.
And then we're still going to do business with those
if you make settlement, if you make settlement that this is a decision against you, and you go and negotiate and make a settlement, if it is financial settlement or whatever settlement, then you've accepted the recommendation of the Commission of Inquiry. So that is another option rather than going to the Court of Appeal.
So the question now is, that means if I'm being accused of stealing this phone, for example, and I come to you, we settle it, I agree that, I stole the phone, but I'm going to pay, and I pay, would you still want to do business with me as a state? That automatically puts
yes,
me...
because you learned your lesson,
right,
and you realize that next time you will do genuine business, that next time if you submit any fictitious document or you use there is a conflict of interest, then the law will bite you. I think you learned your lesson.
Yeah, you wanted to comment.
For us to, not to delay in this discussion, I want to just bring your attention that under the laws, whether recommendations were made from the commissions of inquiry, that is why you see the person who give them job, they will again send the recommendation to the president. There comes out the white paper. With these recommendations again, you understand, these persons of interest have the right to appeal, just like what my brother was saying. And if you have the right to appeal, for example, these are Sierra Leoneans, you learn from lessons. Commissions of inquiry, you understand, for me, from what what I'm saying is for us to learn from our mistake, not to go to...
Have we learned?
We are learning, and this is a learning process for us.
How?
Me, we are learning. Samuel, we are learning. So for some of these guys, one, I will say, when we have the meeting yesterday, if you see them, this band plays, they don't have access to their financial background. They don't have access to the, so for me,
if you're found wanting of any criminal act, in fact, in a civilized state like Sierra Leone, you are even banned from holding public office for a considerable period of time. So now these businesses are found wanting. If at all some of them have gone to the AG's office to settle, accepting that yes, we did wrong, we've settled. Should the government continue to do business with them, or should the government just blacklist them?
For those who have that administrative decision, I am saying administrative decision, not that they were having misunderstanding with governments, you understand, but they have cleared.
What do you mean by administrative decisions? Basically clear that off us.
Fine. Like for example, the Attorney General's office deemed it that these people, they were doing business.
Yes, these people agreed that they entered into bad contracts with the government.
No, not bad contract. That's why investigation was mounted.
Exactly.
And they investigated them, you understand. Some of these guys were not found wanting.
By the commissions of inquiry. The commissions of inquiry found them wanting.
Not all of them. Not all of them.
Interesting. All the names that were placed on ban was as a result of the decision of the commissions of inquiry.
Some were administrative decision made by the Attorney General's office, and that is why when they wrote again, they review their documents. You understand? So they cannot just give them or lift ban, because no, I don't see any sense in that. I think they are responsible institution. I am not there to speak on their behalf, but I am saying what the law entails. that if they are not fined after, you know, going through their documents, you understand, they have the right to continue their business. They are citizens, you understand. That is why even when the recommendations were made from the commissions of inquiry, that some of these guys, like the politician, they should not go into politics. The president said, no, we should not ban them from office, I mean from political activities, but let the law take its course. As you said, the law is there.
And if the law is saying, let's keep them out of public office for a period of time, and you're saying, oh no, this is their profession, let's give them time. And this is not happening now. We've witnessed different commissions of inquiry.
Thank you.
They've come out with recommendations where persons were banned from holding public offices, and we've seen them appointed into public offices. So the question is, this is a learning process. Have we learned, or are we just creating an environment where corruption thrives and people think that at the end of the day,
yes,
I can always go back?
Nothing major happens.
I think the reason why I'm saying we are learning and we are graduating from one step to another step, it will reach a time, my brother, there will be somebody who will say these people should ban. We all know the political situation we have, and knowing the tension, as you said, witch hunting. That is why the president, I am not here as a spokesperson. That is why he deemed it fit to say, I am not going to place ban on them. Let the law take its course. And we have the anti-corruption wing. You understand? You see what they are doing. In fact, they are now going on recovery. Instead of taking the law, if you have, you know, the way to settle, you settle. So for me, it will reach a time somebody will come and say, these people should be banned in office. That's I believe. So as I said, we are learning. We are not there yet, but we'll be there one day.
All right, but you know, what does this say? How does this speak to, you know, the government holding people accountable? Because as Samuel said in his premise to his previous question, if someone breaks the law and the law, justice is at the end of the day served, but you know, they don't face the full consequences of their actions, then are we just posing to be fighting corruption when we don't really let the people who are found wanting face the full consequences of the law?
Perhaps the right question would be just lip service to the fight.
So what I was saying about those properties, like the confiscation of those properties, the Momo Conte, the Balogu Kuroma, what will you say about the Minkailu Bar? Some of these properties, these are confiscation of...
Well, perhaps they've not gone to settle with the AG.
No. You understand? So for me, you understand, that's the decision taken. You understand? Whether they went for appeal, they failed the appeal, and they lost the appeal. And if you lost the appeal, you understand, obviously, if the states have the rights, they will take possession of the property. So for me, we are getting there gradually, Samuel.
All right. Let me ask the question to Francis. Where do you now draw confidence, trust in dealing with those businesses and individuals who've perhaps gone to the AC, where we do this thing, but also will they pay? Now we don't pay, do clearance, now go back and work with the government. And the government said, okay, that's fine, you've paid, continue working with us. Where do you draw confidence and trust in? Because what you do, it's also a form of fighting corruption, the National Public Procurement Authority.
Right. Now, we believe in the legal wisdom of the Office of the Attorney General, Minister of Justice. And findings and recommendations of Commission Inquiry are surrounding legal issues.
Right.
And so if the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, in his wisdom, thought it fit that a certain business has cleared the issue that was raised in the Commission of Inquiry, then we as principal advisor to government on procurement can advise the government that you can now deal with business A or business B, because as we are saying, this is not a culture of impunity. For the fact that settlement has been reached, that settlement could be financial settlement, it could be any other settlement. That means punishment has been meted, and the business or the individual whose name appear on that recommendation must have learned some lesson. And I believe going further, he will not repeat what he did, which warranted his name to appear on the Commission of Inquiry or any other investigation by the ACC or the Audit Service. That is why we have the confidence that government can now continue to do business with those entities whose name has been clear.
Who are deemed to be criminal.
Well,
according to the COI, not my words. Because, I mean, corruption cases are criminal cases, all of them, according to law.
Well, for some, for some, it could not have been criminal. It could have been negligent, right? And so
negligence is what might have caused you to commit the crime. Negligence, ignorance, these are all
it could be
things
recklessness in the first place.
that
Right?
caused you to commit the crime.
Where if you are being reckless, that you did not take steps, right? You did not take conscious effort to do business with government, and now we believe that they've learned the lesson and they will now take conscious effort to do business with government, and we are here to sanitize the public procurement landscape. And we believe if, for example, you were awarded a contract and you did not perform that contract, some of the recommendation would be that you implement that contract or you execute that contract. And so it is not a culture of impunity that have been instituted. Some form of punishment has been meted and some lessons has been learned.
All right. Well, let's take some text messages from our viewers on Facebook.
So we have so many text messages that I'm going to struggle to go through. Some are political and I would want to skip them. Bosele is saying setting up commissions of inquiry is good for any government that comes to power to investigate the past government. But the way and manner how this current government handled the past inquiry is not good for the past government, because the current president started calling opposition party members as thieves before they concluded the inquiry. That means they have already indicted and convicted them before the conclusion. It shows which aunt from Bosele at Duazak. One would have to be blind and living in Netherlands not to have been aware of the rampant corruption that was going on. It was very obvious, and Wells is saying, I thought the Attorney General is the lawyer for the people of Sierra Leone, the legal advocate of the public in the government. Isn't it his job? Frederick Dumas is asking. Corruption is rife in every sector of our governance architecture. I must say, the act of corruption is not only noticed by people with all senses, but visually impaired could identify even prescribed remedies to curtail its existence. 3 more messages. Good morning, AYV. Are you aware of the yes, we're aware, and we're working on fixing it. Yeah, thank you very much. So the state is giving people who have defrauded the people a second chance instead of banning them. Wow. Asan Mansotumbe is saying. And as Kamalu Bangra is saying, Samuel, you're right, they must be blacklisted, all those businesses. And the final message is Samuel's example, you stole my phone and accepted that you stole, then agrees to pay for it. And yet, Mr. NPPA is telling us they will still continue to do business with the thieves. This implies that you will connive with the thieves to con somebody else. Interesting. That's from Liki El Shabazz. I think the final message from Eddie Grant, please. This is what I hate to hear in his wisdom. Do we really have politicians with integrity and wisdom? If yes, why is the country still in stagnation? Okay.
All right. Well, with that, we'll take a quick break from Wake Up Sierra Leone, just to breathe, and then we'll come back and you can have a chance to respond to the questions. Stay tuned. We'll be back. With the conversation. You know, most of what people are saying there on Facebook is that if we're given people who have been blacklisted sort of by the justice system, saying that they have gone against the law, if we're giving them a second chance, then they might, you know, take that, you know, break the law again, settle it with the Attorney General's office, come back, do business. So are we creating a situation where we don't really have a strong arm when it comes to companies or individuals who are doing business, directly doing business with the government?
I don't think so. I will give you a vivid example of yesterday. As I said yesterday, I was with a principal advisor, with his team, And most of these persons of interest, I will say it's not, I will not sit here and speak for them, they are human beings. But I am saying there is no way for that office to look at the law and twist it in the convenience because somebody is attached or have linkage with political party or not. One thing I will say to this administration, whatever they are doing is a learning process now for them. That, you know, we have done this. If we are off from our seats, somebody else will come and do the same thing to us. I will still say there will be a time somebody will come, all what we are saying here, they will take the bull by its own. So we are in the democratic process. And it is us again will say, oh, why are we taking this kind of draconian decision against some of these citizens? We are in the democratic space. We have to give people chance. Let them appeal against whatever alleged. And mark you, these were alleged issues. If you have went through the process,
but Sundufu, that has not been that has not been taken from them. I mean, the right for them to appeal. That is about justice, and the government has given that to them. Go and appeal.
So if you say,
if they want, some of these
obviously if they
if you say these are allegations, if you say these are allegations and they haven't gone through the due process for them to be exonerated, then why are we giving them a second chance if they haven't even, if some of them haven't even been proven guilty or innocent?
And that is what the law said. Allow the person to express, you understand? Allow the due process to take its course.
And it's not allegation anymore. They are not innocent anymore according to law, because I mean, a commission carrying the power of the High Court has ruled that they are guilty. So they're just appealing that decision. No, so it's not mere allegation.
The commissions find out and made recommendations.
The commission carries the power of the High Court.
And
So to speak, it's the decision of the High Court.
No, white paper comes in. Where white paper comes in, recommendation from the presidency. You understand? So for me, let us take the law. This is our law, and that is what we are saying. Let us all galvanize to see it done, that our constitution should be reviewed. Because these are the lacunas in our law as we speak. You understand? When you go the other way, the law will tell you one thing. When you come this other way, the same law will tell you another thing. So for me, we are getting there. Let us allow due processes to take place as we have always been preaching, because we are the same Sierra Leoneans that we sit in our private corners that these people are bullying. You understand? And for me, that is what we are saying. We should avoid bullying.
Let's get it clear. Let's get it clear. Let's get it clear. Persons of interest who have appealed and won, they are going about their businesses.
Thank you.
Musa Tawali is going about his businesses.
Thank you.
Dennis Van is being appointed Minister of Finance today. So they are off the hook. They've been proven. They've appealed and they've won against the state. So they are doing well. We're talking about those who've not gone through the process of appeal after being found wanting by the commissions of inquiry, and we saw a statement saying go ahead and do business with them. That's what we're talking about.
This one, I told you earlier, these bans were placed, you understand, it's not from the commissions of inquiry. Mark you understand? It's from the Attorney General's office due to administrative reasons. And if they
due to administrative reasons, could you clear the error? Because from our understanding and even from the press statement by NPPA, these were people who were mentioned in the COI white paper, which might have been the reason why the Attorney General, through his or her wisdom at the time, took the decision to place a ban on these individuals and businesses who were under investigation.
If these people were alleged that they have been doing X, Y, and Z with the government, that's why they said investigations. We have gone through that. We have passed that. And it's left with the Attorney Generals again. That is why some of these people wrote again to the Attorney Generals. They reviewed their documents. You understand? And I don't think, for me, what I saw yesterday with the principal advisor to the Attorney General, you understand? And for all the experiences, professionals I saw, some of these questions were raised, and I raised some of these questions. They said you will be the same people, this same civil society going around, that they are doing this, taking the law, and this is what we don't want to see. You understand? I will not tell you behind the scene the questions that some of us ask, what I asked yesterday. They are watching, and they knew most of these questions coming up. But I will say again, let us allow due processes. That would be my advice.
So as you're saying, let's allow due processes, what would you now say to the statement from the Office of the Attorney General using the Sierra Leone police to evict, people from houses that have been confiscated?
Of course, these were properties, you understand, for the state. If these properties were now under the state and people want to make claim, you understand, the state have the right to go and, or evict them or take whatever actions.
And that is the due process.
And that is the due process.
Right. Let's bring in Francis. Francis, in all of these, the NPPA plays a very crucial and critical role to saving billions of our leons. Because procurement has always been the crisis when we talk about corruption in this country. And now with this hanging, where do we stand with the NPPA in ensuring that you continue to play your part in saving billions for this country, and those, who are said to be criminals, those who are said to be, to have flouted procurement rules and contracts, continue to pay for what they do?
Well, let me take it from where Solomon ends.
Yeah.
Now, the commissions and inquiry did not ban or suspend these businesses.
Right.
They pointed out the issues. For example, that business A secured a loan from the Sierra Leone Commercial Bank to execute a contract awarded by the government and did not pay the loan. Another one, we say that business B was awarded a contract but it failed to execute the contract. Now, what the white paper recommendation did was to bring out the financial implication of that contract in monetary terms. For example, we will say you were awarded a contract of 5 billion and you did not execute that contract.
Yeah.
Now, what the AG office did was to recommend through the white paper for that business to pay back the money. And what we did as the principal advisor to government on public procurement and to ensure that the procurement landscape is sanitized, that there is fair competition, there is level playing field, what we did was to suspend them until they pay the money or they clear their name through an appeal process. So by going to the Attorney General's office, the Ministry of Justice, by paying the money, meaning they have settled what was the recommendation against them. And so if they have settled, we cannot eliminate them from participating in government contract, because the monetary terms, the contract that was awarded to them for which they did not execute, or the contract that was the loan that they secure from the bank which they did not pay, they have paid the money. So they cannot, it can be,
so does that not give them,
be a double jeopardy.
Does that not give them the free will to go to government again and loan? That give us a loan from the bank, from the Sierra Leone Commercial Bank, so that we can implement a contract given to us by the Ministry of Information and Communication, for example. Now you're loaning me the money to implement a contract you are giving me. Does that not give them that opportunity to do so again?
No, we stated somewhere it will not. There is a saying that once beaten, twice shy.
So just to add to that question, are there clear terms and conditions as to the way the NPPA or other government ministries and agencies will operate with these businesses who were named in the COI?
Well, we have clear rules of procedure in public procurement. And for us, we regulate...
Which were existent prior to even the COI being formed and these companies and institutions jumped over. So I don't think that is enough.
No, right. It was there. But the law, to have a law is one thing, to implement the law is another. Now with the NPPA, the current administration and the NPPA, we ensure that we implement the law to the letter. That is why we insist that all tender documents are submitted to the NPPA for a review. We ensure that all evaluation reports are submitted to us for review. That is where we look at the issues, we ensure that processes and procedures are followed. So going forward, those businesses whose names have been cleared by settlement by the Office of the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, will continue to do business, and we ensure that we scrutinize their processes and procedures, we scrutinize their contract award, and we ensure that we monitor. Mind you, one of our role is to monitor public procurement. We have monitoring and evaluation officers who are designated all over the country. We ensure that every contract is being monitored from civil works to simple contract of goods, works, and services.
All right then. Solomon, what would you say to these companies now, given that they've gone and settled with the AG and they've been given the green light to operate with the government, to continue doing business with the government?
For me, I will say to them, don't go back to the past. Don't, you know, as my brother said, if you have been in this kind of quagmire where your businesses were stuck, you cannot access your accounts, you cannot do business with governments, right? I think it's one punishable thing that every citizen should know. If I did one thing to the other side, they would take the other cane to flog me. And that is why we are calling on all of us, institutions, ministries, departments, and agencies, for us to work within the confines of the law. This Commission of Inquiry teaches us that those who are now in power should not do anything that people will start looking at them. Oh, you set up this, and at the end of the day, you are now tagged as the most corrupt administration. That is what.
Or rather, it gives them, an opportunity to do, because they know at the end of the day they will be, scot free.
And here is the caveat here. Section 147 gives every president the power, the mandate to set up commissions of inquiry.
Commissions of inquiry have been set up in the past, and they've not even findings were never put on the table. You and I have never seen reports.
Samuel,
so it's been happening.
Samuel, I will tell you, it will reach a time. Somebody will come one day and say, this time I will take the bull by its horn.
All right.
All right, well, thank you very much for being a part of the program this morning. Thank you to Solomon Sundu and Francis from the NPPA.